Hi everyone, I'm Andy Lockmears and I am sharing a little bit of information today about something that just came across my desk and I wanted to comment on it because it really piqued my curiosity and so I read through it. It's an email that came from the Stand for Health Freedom organization. Stand for Health Freedom. And they shared a story about a colleague of theirs whose daughter had quite a journey with a life-threatening heart condition, evidently. She fainted. So I don't know how old the girl is. It says a young daughter, so I'm assuming she's younger. She had a fainting episode, and the parents were concerned about that, so that led to genetic testing. And from the genetic came a very frightening diagnosis about the young girl's heart. She was given a number of lifestyle restrictions, a list of things she could no longer do. She was put on medication, and all of this resulted in a very crippling anxiety and fear and a diminished quality of life for, I'm sure, not just the little girl, but also her family. That's pretty devastating to get genetic testing and to see, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my daughter. How many conflict shocks does that bring? And so I can just imagine what this little girl went through. It must have been so upsetting for her and for her whole family. Fortunately, the parents were like, maybe we should get a second opinion. So they did, and they got a second opinion. And after carefully reviewing her case, the diagnosis was reversed. Yep, you've got it. Oh, nope, you don't. The new doctor is considered the world's expert in this condition, and he or she determined that the genetic test results had been leaned on so heavily that they were not interpreted correctly. And so what happened is that now the child's life could now return to normalcy, if you will. And she had her life restored back to her. And that was all because her parents said, maybe we need to question what we were just told. And fortunately, they took over control of their daughter's life and her care. They didn't just blindly trust genetic testing. Let's look at this from a gemetische Heilkunde perspective. The girl fainted. We're going to call that probably the absence. And I say probably because it doesn't sound like she had a seizure where there might have been a motor cortex program going. Chances are this is the absence, and that means it's the epicrisis of any program that's in the premotor sensory cortex, and postsensory cortex. So any program that involves squamous epithelial. You can faint in the epicrisis. It's not unusual. You might have just a few minutes of feeling not yourself or absent-minded, or you could literally faint, or you could go into a coma if the conflict load was really long and intense. But she fainted once. So it wasn't that big of a program, but it was enough that she fainted. Common programs where this occurs would be the pharyngeal ducts, a frontal fear. What's going to happen? You're worried about something. Another common one would be the small curvature of the stomach, the pancreatic ducts, the bile ducts. That would be another epicrisis where their fainting would be fairly common, or at least not unusual. There could also be the bladder mucosa program, so a territorial marking conflict, boundary issues, somebody's coming into my territory. Those would be common ones. This is a little girl. There's no way she's going to have a coronary artery heart attack. Right? That's just not going to happen. Because first of all, she's a girl, she's a female, and her estrogen protects her. She's not going to have that much of a male program running. Coronary artery would be a territorial loss program. And she does not have a male territory as a little girl. So, when I hear people getting genetic testing, I immediately, my little antenna go up. Well, why? Why would you do that? It's like you're looking for something to be wrong, and then it's confirmed, and then, oh my gosh, it starts other programs. But just because your genes say one thing doesn't mean you're running an actual program. that program hasn't been turned on, and it's your biological programs that determine your gene expression. So my advice to anyone is that if you get genetic testing, well, second guess why. Why do you feel like you need to? Why don't you learn Gemanische Heilkunde instead? Because then you'll have even more data than what that genetic report could possibly give you. For me, it's just a very slippery slope. And I look at the impact in this little girl's life and her family's life as well. I can imagine they had a lot of anxiety, maybe frontal lobe constellation. There's a number of programs that could have started in this little girl and in the whole family, including constellations. We don't need to do that for ourselves, but I get that the parents were concerned and wanted answers. The best way to get answers is to learn Dr. Hammer's work. So I just want to spread this out there. If you've never heard of Gemanische Heilkunde before, Germanic New Medicine, then please explore it. It could be the best thing you could ever do for yourself or your family, and especially for your children. I really want to point out too that the power of the spoken word can be absolutely crippling. So be aware of that. Many times a physician will give a diagnosis, and that is what starts what is known as metastases, the secondary programs that run that will eventually be found because they feel like they have to keep testing and looking for metastases. Well, eventually they may find the secondary programs, and that's an even bigger slippery slope. Our bodies were designed with perfection. It's a matter of understanding the language of our body, and that's what Gemanische Heilkunde gives us. It puts us in the driver's seat so much that once we know this and we know the program's running, we know what to do about it. Sometimes having surgery would be important. Sometimes getting a lab test would be helpful or beneficial. Oftentimes, though, once we work with someone who can help us to downgrade it or find a solution, then we can make changes in our life and be finished with that program. We've all done this many times before. We all know how to do this intuitively, instinctually. But when we can bring consciousness and knowledge to it, oh, my little girl fainted. Oh, she just had an epicrisis. So now you're going to explore what just happened. And that way there's no fear, and it doesn't start additional programs. All right, so thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope this has been helpful. Please share this with anyone you know who does not know Germanic New Medicine yet. Let's see if we can really start a revolution of knowledge and empowerment. Thanks again.